Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for 173. In this matchup, we have the return of Stamp Fairfax taking on Kana Morimoto. For those of you who are not aware of Stamp Fairfax, she is the first ever 3-sport world champion. She was the former Muay Thai, kickboxing, and MMA champion in the atomweight division. Now, there's something else of importance as I move along with the breakdowns. When I say atomweight, I really mean she fought at 115 pounds. The thing about one is that their fighters, let's say, under the bantamweight weight, you would think 135, especially if you're a UFC guy. Their bantamweights are actually 145 pounds, so they're really just the UFC featherweights. So I'm mostly going to say what weight class they are by like numerical, not so much by title. So really, she was the 115-pound champion in Muay Thai, MMA, and kickboxing. Now, as a kickboxer slash Muay Thai fighter, Fairtex is 64-17 as a professional. As an MMA fighter, she's 11-2. Meanwhile, Morimoto is 23-6 as a kickboxer. For Fairtex, it's actually been quite a while since she's last fought under one. She was sidelined for over a year. Her last fight was back in 2023, and she was sidelined due to knee injuries, which at first seemed to put her on the sidelines, and there had to be an interim champion. But then further complications had forced Fairtex to vacate her MMA title, and forced the interim champion got promoted to the undisputed. But now Fairtex has returned and is looking to show that she's still as good as ever, or in kickboxing against and Kana Morimoto, who while in under the one banner hasn't done so well. She's 1-2 in the promotion. Is a very well traveled and well known Japanese kickboxer, and has mostly dominated her regional scene for more or less throughout the portion of her career. So the interesting part about trying to break down this fight is I really had to delve into how Fairtex kickboxes, not so much how she strikes with her Muay Thai nor MMA, because in kickboxing, the clinch is a big thing where you're not actually allowed to clinch, you're not allowed to sweep. You can at best like hold for 2 seconds, but you can't like force your opponent's head down or anything of that nature. You can sort of hold, like I said, for 2 seconds. You can throw knees in kickboxing, but you can't elbow. So it was very important that I try and distinguish, is her kickboxing style different from her Muay Thai style? So from what I found, there's not really too much of a difference in terms of how she strikes in Muay Thai nor kickboxing. In fact, Fairtex's striking style is, Muay Thai, as she was at first a Muay Thai fighter before transitioning to kickboxing and later MMA. For Fairtex, her style mostly is another traditional Thai style, a little heavy, sort of I wouldn't say plotter because Fairtex has pretty good fluid footwork, but in comparison to normal kickboxers where their combinations kind of have this flow to them, like jab, cross, hook, leg kick, all kind of one seamless motion, Fairtex has that beat or that pause I've talked about with other Thai fighters or Thai striking styles where jab, pause, cross, pause, hook, pause, end it with a leg kick. Now, the difference is while kickboxing combinations are more fluid and you can, in theory, throw more strikes in one motion, Thai fighters, while their combination might have a bit of a pause to them, they have emphasis more on power, or like their leg kicks, like their jab, and overall, like, doesn't matter the strike, they have more emphasis on power than I would say fluidity and speed. Now, like I said, that's not true for all Thai fighters. In fact, some of the Thai fighters I'm going to be talking about on this card don't have that type of style. But that is something to keep in mind, as that is something Fairtex does with her style, especially regarding her kicks, as she definitely does that traditional like Thai hop and does it to cover distance. In something that Thai fighters do is it's called a Thai hop, where their lead leg just kind of goes like this, as they can chamber it and fire a teep immediately instead of just waiting for their opponent then lift their legs up. It's also a good way to hide a teep, as if your leg is constantly doing this, your opponent don't know when you're going to stop and then fire the teep. For Fairtex, she does the when she does the tie hop, she also kind of fakes with her teeth to cover distance and then blasts with the rear leg. Okay? And it seems at the beginning of her kickboxing career in one, Fairtex was more kick heavy. Now, of course, she had the problem of sweeping her opponents or dumping them, as they would also say, which, like I said, is not allowed in kickboxing, and that can cause trouble. But Fairtex seems to have adjusted to the rules pretty well. And overall, when it comes to like clinching and or just sweeps in general, the refs and the officials are more lenient towards that. Now, of course, if you do it in a numerous amount of times after multiple warnings, they will like yellow card you, and that's when they take a percentage of your purse. Sorry, a percentage of your purse. So I definitely wouldn't. I'll definitely say there would be repercussions, but generally they're a little more lenient to the clinch. Now, I find that Fairtex's boxing has definitely also improved. She's much better at combining her punches with her kicks in in one overall combination. And another thing I will say, we've talked about what would happen if this female fighter went to UFC, more specifically Jesnia Dudakovic from PFL. I'm more interested in what would happen if Fairtex would be in the UFC, as she's a well-rounded fighter in every sense of the word. But again, we're talking more so about her kickboxing style than overall as an MMA fighter. So overall, I would say Fairtex's kickboxing style is very kick heavy and very good at never letting her opponents kind of like set a rhythm to them. Oftentimes, you'll see Fairtex kind of land teeps, leg kicks, something to disrupt her opponents from ever gaining momentum, or also clinching at times and then breaking off. As it's a very good way to stop your opponent from gaining any sort of momentum. As let's say Fairtex is by the ropes and her opponents start trying to fire off a combination, she'll clinch, stop them, and then the ref will separate them. And that is oftentimes a very good way of, like I said, just stalling your opponent out, eating seconds off the round. Something like that. And like I said, it's very good. Fairtex does it pretty good. Fairtex has a hell of a chin. She once fought Supergirl, apologies if I butchered the name, Jung Watt, who was literally a weight class above because both their opponents fell out and they decided to fight each other. And Fairtex even hurt Supergirl in that fight. I didn't want it, even though she fought literally a fighter the weight class above. Now, looking at Kana Morimoto, her style I find is defined off her rear leg. Now, Morimoto can fight out of either stance, but oftentimes her offense starts with a rear kick followed up by a punching combination, and sometimes they'll end in a leg kick. But oftentimes they're not. It doesn't matter orthodox or southpaw. You will see Morimoto fire off a rear body kick first and then end it with a boxing combination. Now, there are times where that doesn't happen and Morimoto will open up in, like, say, with her jab or hook. Like I said, it doesn't matter which stance she can fight out of both. And you can see oftentimes, even mid-combination, Morimoto will switch stances, so she's a very good switch hitter. And what else? It's hard to say what else Morimoto style really comes down to, as her style is really defined by the rear kick. If she can get it going, she can then her other start opening up, as it seems her style is built off the rear kick landing. Now, I would say Morimoto definitely has some power. She hasn't shown it much in one. In fact, she's not done too well in one, going 1 and 2 in ONE FC. And trust me, it's very hard to try and say one as in the promotion and then one as in the number. So I'm doing my best not to sound too confusing. But even then, Morimoto is a well-known veteran of kickboxing, has a good number of fights. Nah, it's not as much as Fairtex, even with Fairtex being younger at like 27. But Morimoto is very well versed in the Japanese scene in kickboxing. But I find that she makes, similar to Seok Kim for his fight with Jack Peacock, I find Morimoto kind of makes a lot of mistakes. Like, she will oftentimes kind of lunge with her punches. And while she has good form and good compactness, there are times where she kind of lunges in with her hooks. And I can see Fairtex making her pay for it with her own boxing. In fact, I think when it comes to the overall kicking game of these two, I think Fairtex, having done Muay Thai since she was fucking 6, is going to have better kicking defense, better kicking offense, and better answers for the kick. Now, also another thing in kickboxing that they can't do in Muay Thai is they can't catch the kick. Now, they can check it, they can block it and all that, but they can't grab the kick and then do something with it. So, those types of like answers to Morimoto's rear kicks are not available in this sort of rule set. But of course, there is the elephant in the room. How is Fairtex going to look after the knee injury? Especially considering that there were further complications with her rehab, forcing her to be on hiatus for even longer than what was intended. So there's definitely going to be some questions on how Fairtex's mobility is going to be and how much damage that leg could take. As a guarantee, I'm sure Morimoto is going to probably aim for leg kicks at that, or sorry, aim some legs at the damaged knee. So there's definitely going to be some questions in there that I don't have the answer to until we see Fairtex step into the ring. Another aspect of something that I'm probably going to have to look up later is depending on the location and depending on the event, the fight will either be held in a ring or a cage. I believe this is going to be held in the cage, or sorry, in a ring, however, as the last event in Japan, which was in March for 172, was also held in a ring when they went to Japan that time. So that's more so speculation. I'm probably going to dive deeper. But if it is going to be competed in a ring, I think that's going to favor Fairtex as, you know, if she's 100% healthy, the knee is all fine, then I think she's going to beat Morimoto in terms of mobility and her footwork. And I just think she's going to be the better overall technician on the feet. So for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Stamp Fairtex, and I'm going to pick her via decision. I think she has the overall better kicking arsenal, better punching combinations, and I think she'll have more answers for Morimoto than I think Morimoto will have answers for her. So once again, my official prediction, I'm going to go with Stamp Fairtex. I'm picking her via decision. With that being said, that's been my prediction of this matchup. If you like the video, comment and subscribe. Next up, we'll have Nabi Anami taking on Yormi Wajami. Wajahami. Until then, I have been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. Take care.